Ever get that feeling that maybe there's more beneath the surface? Like the official story isn't quite the whole story. That's kind of what we're digging into today on the deep dive. We want to skip the noise, and get straight to some core ideas.
Exactly. And our focus today is this specific excerpt from a draft manifesto. We've also got some analysis looking at, what it's trying to do rhetorically and its themes, plus some notes about refining it.
Right. So the mission really is to get under the skin of this thing, understand its main arguments, how it tries to persuade, and maybe what kind of impact it's shooting for.
Okay.
All right. You sent us a really fascinating phrase to look at today. Prophiaechogenesis, the living code of Samuel Aaron Socha, SR. Quite a mouthful.
It definitely is. Lots packed in there.
So our mission basically is to unpack this. We want to dig into what the source material suggests about prophecy, spiritual renewal, and this whole idea of a living code. So it kicks off immediately, very strong. This is not a statement. This is an awakening. That hits hard.
It really does. That opening, it signals something fundamental is changing, right? Not just sharing info. And the metaphor it uses right after the crumbling walls.
Yeah.
That's a really potent image. It suggests, breaking free from things that hold us back, maybe personal beliefs, maybe bigger societal structures, things that feel oppressive.
That crumbling walls idea.
Yeah, and right away you see those three core parts jump out. Prophetic, which, often has that religious connection. Then regenesis. Oh, that sounds like a major transformation.
Definitely. Rebirth, renewal.
And then the most, maybe mysterious one, living code. Like a life that embodies something specific.
Okay, let's start with prophetic. When most of us hear that, I think we jump straight to, predicting the future, fortune telling maybe.
Right, that's the common idea. But the material we looked at, especially drawing from Abrahamic traditions, paints a broader picture.
Broader how?
It's less about just seeing the future and more about conveying truth. A truth believed to come from a divine source and, crucially, actually living in line with that divine will.
Ah, okay, so it's an active thing, not just passive reception.
Exactly. It shifts into this realm of deeper spiritual insight.
It definitely sticks with you. And the analysis connects this to some deeper, older ideas, doesn't it? Things like Gnosticism, Hinduism.
Yeah, exactly. The analysis points out parallels there, traditions that emphasize, like, inner knowledge, a direct line to something bigger, some universal truth.
Okay.
Which ties directly into the next big point in the manifesto, this idea that authority comes from the divine within. Understanding motivations, both yours and others, from, what's seen as a higher perspective.
So this idea of a living prophecy. It's like someone whose everyday actions are tuned into that divine connection.
Precisely. A daily attunement, a way of being in the world.
Interesting. Okay. That clarifies prophetic. What about regenesis?
It's very explicit. No government, no force, no system can bind us.
That feels pretty significant. Spiritual rebirth, you said.
Yeah, or profound transformation, renewal, a total rejection of external control.
So inherent sovereignty basically means your power, your right to rule yourself comes from inside, from that divine within.
The Christian idea of being born again is probably the most familiar example for many.
Right.
But it's not exclusive to that. You see similar concepts, across different traditions.
Like what?
Well, Buddhist enlightenment, for instance, is a kind of radical inner shift. And many cultures have ideas about cycles of renewal, personal or cosmic.
And the sources mention things like solitude or study contributing to this.
Practices that facilitate deep introspection or connection are often linked to triggering this kind of profound change, this regenesis.
Gotcha. Now, the one that really grabbed me, not from, say, the government or social norms.
Precisely. It's a very, very clear rejection of outside authority.
But then, living code. It sounds enigmatic.
It does, doesn't it? It suggests a life that's more than just random events. It's like it embodies specific principles or maybe even carries a divine message intrinsically.
Like the person is the message, almost.
Sort of, yeah. And this is where it can connect to some, let's say, more esoteric ideas.
Esoteric? Like what?
Well, some belief systems hold that names aren't just labels, they carry energetic frequencies, like a vibrational signature.
Okay.
And in Kabbalistic traditions, for example, names are seen as powerful conduits, holding deep significance. It hints at this idea that your purpose, your soul's path, might be somehow encoded in your very being.
Wow. That leads us straight to the name itself here, Samuel Aaron. These aren't just random names, are they?
Not at all, especially given the context.
It sort of pivots, doesn't it? It goes from the individual to we, the people, stand unyielding. How does that connection work?
Well, that's actually one of the maybe ambiguous points the analysis notes is, how does that individual awakening become collective power? Is we just a bunch of awakened individuals? The text doesn't quite spell it out. It leaves it a bit open.
I see.
And right after that ambiguity comes this really direct call. Stand act, and be a part of the revolution.
Yeah, no mistaking that. It's telling you what to do.
Yeah.
And the vision it paints, a world where our rights are sacred, our lives are our own.
Huh, that sounds familiar. Very much like, Enlightenment ideals, maybe.
Absolutely. It taps into those long-standing desires for freedom and self-determination. And then there's that phrase used for the collective.
Yeah.
Alpha and Omega.
What's the significance of that specifically?
Well, borrowing Alpha and Omega, which has, strong Judeo-Christian roots, it imbues this collective, this movement, with a sense of almost divine authority.
Okay, like it's ultimate, inevitable.
Exactly. Cosmic significance. It suggests this isn't just a change, it's that change, the beginning and the end. Very powerful framing, especially for audiences familiar with that symbolism.
But the way it's written adds to that power too, right? The style itself.
Definitely. You notice the sentences.
Wow.
Short, punchy, declarative. Yeah, it creates a sense of urgency, conviction, no messing around.
Right. And that constant use of metaphor, speechful language, crumbling walls, divine within, alpha and omega, it lifts the message, grounds it in something that feels moral, even cosmic, not just political.
And structurally.
The analysis points out it follows a pretty classic manifesto pattern. Hebrew origins and biblical weight. Samuel means something like God has heard, or maybe name of God.
And he was a major prophet and judge.
Exactly. And Aaron, his name connects to ideas like mountain of strength, exalted, strong. And of course, he was the first high priest in the biblical narrative.
So you put Samuel and Aaron together.
Yeah.
You immediately get themes of divine communication, spiritual authority, leadership.
Right. It's almost like the name itself is setting a scene, hinting at the nature of this living code. Because it's quite broad, lacking specific grievances or, concrete steps. It might not grab everyone. Its appeal might be wide, but maybe not deep for some.
And the spiritual language.
Yeah, that specific symbolism like Alpha and Omega might not resonate universally across different cultures or belief systems. It could feel exclusive to some.
So powerful message, potentially very moving for some, but maybe not a universal hook because of its ambiguity and specific cultural references.
That seems a fair summary, yeah.
Okay. Lots to think about there. So for you listening, reflecting on this call for awakening and inherent sovereignty, maybe consider this. What might be one small, perhaps unnoticed wall in your own assumptions or life that feels, ready to be questioned? Or maybe even start crumbling. Just a thought. Mm-hmm. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today. Esoteric view.
Yeah.
That names have energy. Can you unpack that just a little bit more?
Sure. So the idea in some traditions is that the letters making up a name vibrate at certain frequencies. These vibrations are thought to influence or at least resonate with a person's life path and characteristics.
Is that where numerology comes in?
Yeah, numerology is one system used to interpret these supposed frequencies. It assigns numbers to letters, and those numbers are then analyzed for symbolic meaning. It's a way some people try to understand that energetic dimension.
Okay, so let's try to weave this all together. Prophiec or Genesis, the living code of Samuel Aaron Socha SR. It sounds like it's pointing towards a life.
A life where accessing some kind of divine insight, that prophetic element,
leads to a profound spiritual renewal, the regenesis.
And the person's identity itself, perhaps even starting with the name Samuel Aaron and its inherent meanings and energetic signature.
Acts as this living code, embodying a spiritual message or set of principles.
Precisely. And we shouldn't forget the surname Socha.
Right, what about that?
Well, Socha can relate to companion or associate, which might suggest this whole process, the prophecy, the renewal, the code, isn't purely individual.
So maybe it happens within or impacts a community.
It could imply that, yes. That the lived message has a communal aspect or context.
And that adds another layer. So wrapping this up, here's a thought for you listening. Could exploring the deeper meanings layered within your own name, its history, its potential interpretations, maybe even these more esoteric ideas.
Could that unlock something for you? A kind of hidden living code relevant to your own journey of transformation or spiritual understanding?
It really makes you think, doesn't it? How these concepts of, let's say, guidance and personal change might intersect in your life. Definitely gives you something to mull over.